Hi everyone, and welcome to the Efficiency Engineers podcast, where we ask the question, is there a better way? My name is Frederik Stallaert, and in this podcast, I interview leaders in insurance that challenge the industry's notorious reputation of being slow to change and inefficient. On the show today, we have Frank Gheysen. Frank is the brand new managing director of Piette Partners, a specialized local underwriter in West Flanders. The company is definitely not the biggest player in Belgium, but it's trusted by many brokers for its strong knowledge of the local market, as well as working extremely efficient. Frank calls it the lean, mean West Flemish machine. If this doesn't make you curious, I don't know what will. Coming from the biggest insurer in the world, Allianz, and now heading this hyper-efficient local player, Piette Partners, I believe Frank has a unique point of view to help us better understand how to do things differently in an industry that is standing still. I want to know, is there a better way? Frank, thanks for coming on the show. I think this is great. This is the first time I see you in real life, I see your face. We've been on the phone in the past, that was it. And I'm really looking forward to this. How are you doing today?
Fine, thanks, Frederick, and thanks already for having me. I really liked your invitation. First of all, I'd like to say to the people listening now, I'm not an engineer, but I really like efficiency. So that's where I come in here. Yeah,
Let's say an efficiency enthusiast.
absolutely. Enthusiastic always. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I felt already. Enthusiastic always. That's why I think this is going to be fun. Um, so maybe let's start with you telling us a little bit about yourself, because I'm starting to get to know you, but did I get the introduction more or less correct?
absolutely. Let's say I studied law school, so I had no intention at all to come into the insurance business. And absolutely no intention. Certainly after the fourth year, I had my exam on the insurance law. After that exam, I got out. I threw away my books. I didn't burn them, but I threw away those books and said, insurance, never in my life. Okay, so I ended up in insurance by coincidence. So here I am, and I was always the sales
Don't
guy.
Frank, don't we all?
Absolutely,
By
absolutely.
coincidence, I mean.
I always say insurance business, that's a big gaping hole. You step into it, you fall into it. But after 3 months, when people provide you a big ladder to climb out, you say, nah, guys, I'm having fun. So that's where I am now. So I started out as a sales guy. I always went into insurance, worked with brokers, retail brokers, so let's say SME brokers, mid-core broking. Then I headed from the PNV group to Allianz. Really learned a lot there. Great colleagues, very international firm also. And as you said, now I'm playing it locally, and I'm having a lot of fun because you mentioned it already. It's a lean and mean machine, and it's talking about efficiency and providing broker real service, and that's where we come in. So that's why I took the step, because some people said to me, Frank, what are you doing? Going from an international big firm to that local player in Kortrijk, as we call it, that's between Bruges and Roeselare and Ghent. And people say, what exactly are you doing there? And I'm saying, I'm helping our brokers to provide service.
So you didn't intend to go into insurance, then coincidentally you landed in insurance. I feel that's the only thing I hear from people, also from guests on the podcast. Like one of the previous guests also came from law, so I like that connection already. But then you stay in insurance, and then you must have some vision and some goal in front of you, right?
Well, I gotta be honest, when I stepped into the business, I came out of school. So you think you know the world. You're 24 years old. You think you have a lot of experience. You don't have any experience, of course. I stepped into that business, really curious, because I'm a curious guy, and curiosity killed the cat, but also created a lot of inventions. So I was really curious, and I was a bit disappointed. And my disappointment came from seeing that it was an old business, but an intelligent business and a very important business, because I said we always have the honor of helping people out with the three most important things in their life. First of all, their own life, life insurance, their liabilities, and their properties. So these three things, those are the main things in, let's say, a human life. When you look at it from an economic view, we do that. We are able to do that. We can do that. So we always work with, for people. That's that's the challenge, you know. It's people's business, and I know everybody uses that word, but it's people's business in the broadest sense of the word. So that's what I like. I was a bit disappointed when I saw the industry was, let's say, slow. It's a slow business. It's a big business. It's intelligent business, but it's a really slow, non-disruptive business. When I talk to you, it's about doing things in a new way, in a very efficient way, and creating efficiency, like you said, that's going forward in a non-disruptive way in insurance. So that's a bit slow, and that was my biggest disappointment, but also my biggest, let's say, view on that insurance world. It's really slow, but really big and intelligent. So I want to move forward. I have this small company that really strives for efficiency, and that's all we're doing here is for our brokers. So I'm still working with and for brokers for the customer, but we have to do it in another way, and that's why we are talking also about efficiency. So that's the reason I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah. I mean, there's one thing is the slowness of the industry, but the backside of the coin is that there's so much still to happen, and the opportunity is huge. And when the change will happen, it will impact every single life and every single person. And that is, I think, the beauty of the insurance industry as a whole. So I can relate with that. But what do you think is holding us back?
Quite a lot of things. First of all, conservatism. You know, the defensive way people are. It's holding back. Change is something different, and something different can be dangerous. It's the way we survived, of course. You know, I always make the comparison with the moose in Canada. The big moose thinks he's still master chief in nature, and when he's on the railway side, he's on the railway tracks, and there's a train coming in. He thinks I'm the boss around here, you know. So he keeps standing on the railway. Of course, he gets hit by the train, and he's run over by the train. But he thought he was the boss. He was still the boss, you know. So that's the nature's way of doing things, being conservative and careful. And careful we should be, but we also have to think forward, because if you don't think forward, you're not being careful. You know, you will miss out on things. And to me, that's important. So that's the reason we have to do that. And people are holding us back from different corners. First of all, when you work with brokers, you have a triangle. You are the insurance company. You work with brokers, they are the intermediary. And then you have the customer, you know, that's a very important triangle. And that triangle needs to cooperate. And I think that cooperation is not perfect as it is today, because there's some mistrust sometimes in that way of working together. And I think the trust should be built by talking about it and going forward together to serve our joint customer. And to me, that is my main goal, to show the broker that we want to cooperate and provide them the service that he or she needs to be there tomorrow and the day after tomorrow with modern service, because that's what people are expecting. And then yesterday I had a seminar, and they were talking about the Starbucks experience. Everybody knows it. Everybody thinks it's normal that you take the train in Brussels and you go to Lyon in France. You have a 3 hour trip, and you order your, let's say, cafe latte in Lyon when you get there. When you order it, you get notified. An hour later, they say, "We did not forget you, Frank. You'll get your cafe latte within 2 hours." You step out of the train, they know it because they are connected with the train schedule. They say, "Frank, within 2 minutes, you will have your cafe latte." In insurance, that's absolutely not the case, but it will be the case. And the moment you are not ready for that, are not willing to do that, the clients will lose you and you will lose the client. So that is our main way to go, but it's a long way, and we have to do it step by step because insurance industry is a slow industry and non-disruptive, but we should take steps now because otherwise we will, let's say, stumble forwards, and that's not the way to go.
I think we'll get to that point where, and we're not there yet, that a pivotal point where not changing means losing vast amounts of customers. And today, maybe there's some loss here and there, but in general, I feel portfolios are quite stable still, and challengers are only ramping up. But at some point, we'll see this taking place. We'll see this in effect. What you just described, this experience, and once the end customer has transformed their expectations, that's when I think we will see change at scale. What is making you and Piette and Partners in a strong position to be driving this change? Why do you think you'll succeed?
First of all, I'll get back to what I said just before the last question, Frederick. It's always the customer is always right, you know. There's no customer that's going into a broker office and says, now I want the policy coming from Piette and Partners. They just don't say that. It's the broker that makes the choice for the customer. Yes, but if the customer stops coming in to the broker office because he or she does not get the service she is used to from other companies, then we will both lose clients and customers, and that's something we should really care about. I think we already have a lot in store as being Piette and Partners because we have a full API-based way of working. By that, I mean we created an ecosystem a few years ago when we had to make tough decisions on how to move forward, the IT way, I mean, and there we opted for the API way. And API is just a way of creating an ecosystem that's like a kind of a puzzle, but you can extend the puzzle and you can create a puzzle that is connected with other people. For us, that's the broker office. If a broker is creating something, let's say a customer zone, and the client has a link with Piette and Partners via the broker, and I stress this, via the broker office, then in the back, we can create, let's say, in conjunction with the broker, again, in the real time, everything the broker needs from us coming from us to the customer. I give you a small example. You have a fire policy for your own private house, and you have a policy with Piette and Partners. A broker constructs a customer zone. That customer is moving to another address. So on moving out, he informs his broker and says, okay, I go to my customer zone and I put in the new address. If the broker has this system that is connected with this BRM CRM system, then when the client touches enter by giving his new address, the new policy is in real time created in our back office and immediately going to the broker. The customer only sees his broker office, his customer zone, and 1 minute later he receives the new property policy written on his new or her new address, coming again from the broker. But in the back, it's Piette and Partners that creates that magic. And that is the way we want to surprise people in a positive way by providing customer service to the broker, because the broker is always in between. So I think that's my dream. We have the building blocks to do that, and we will create new building blocks to go even further for that. And that's my dream, to do that together with a broker. But my, let's say, intention is also to convince the broker to do that, because in a few years, this will be mandatory to really keep the attention coming from the customer.
Do your broker clients, do they already understand this today? Or are you simply preparing for the future? Are you anticipating future behavior by getting the right tools and processes in place today? What's been the feedback?
Yeah, let's be very clear on this. Um, we're a bit too early with this, and a bit too early to be broadly successful. And by that I mean that the broker on general is not really thinking about this way of processing data and policies through and for the customers. That doesn't mean you do not have to be ready. We are already preparing for a future with the broker coming to the customer from and to the customer again via the broker. But right now, the brokers were digitalized, and digitalization, because a lot of people use the word paperless. We already talked about that, Frederick, in our last call. It's a very difficult word to use. Huh? If you say paperless, for me, that's really paperless. Huh? That means no paper at all. That means you're fully digitized. And digitalization is a difficult word because it can't be half digitalized. It should be 100%. That 100% is still not reached because I think the brokers are really taking steps forward, which is very important. And I'm really glad to see that happening. But you have to create more than just your own BRM, CRM system for your customers in your own broker office. You have to be ready to talk to the outside world and also talk to your providers, meaning the insurance companies. So you also, as a broker, you need to think about the ecosystem also. You know, an ecosystem, we created that ecosystem. And what is an ecosystem? That's a system that can keep up connections with other systems. That's why it's called an ecosystem, you know? It talks to things. And our goal is to let our ecosystem, let's say, seamlessly talk to the broker system, and then the broker can communicate to his or her customer. That's the dream. So right now, to answer your question directly, I don't think the brokers need to step up on this. They need to do it, not because we do it or we think they should do it. It's what the customers are demanding. And if I can say one thing, I think 95% of the brokers are not ready to talk to the millennial about insurance and to deal with the millennial about insurance. And the millennial is becoming the next big customer, of course. So they should be ready, and we should be ready together. And I think that is holding us back a bit. On the other hand, we are very, very proud of what we already achieved in the back because we are ready for that future. And that is my big goal, to show brokers we are a partner for your future. And that's where we really want to be a player.
I see. I understand. Now you mentioned something that I think is interesting. You were talking about ecosystem and uh, putting those tools in place that communicate with each other, that evolve separately, but that provide value as an end-to-end chain. And I feel that's where Piette Partners has been investing to prepare for millennials and other disruptive changes. But why do you think the ecosystem is such an important part of the strategy? Why can't you, as an insurance company, just buy a single stack technology that solves those needs?
That's a very hard question because a lot of consultants get that question, Frederick, and they get paid quite a lot to answer that question. But it's always with ifs and buts because nobody is having that crystal ball in their hands, of course. Neither have I, because otherwise I would fill out eight numbers, winning the big lottery, and I will say, Frederick, goodbye. A lot of luck with your podcast on insurance and financial business. But that crystal ball, you can mitigate that crystal ball situation because an ecosystem, the difference between an ecosystem and something that you take in as a whole is the way you can move forward or backward, even to the left and to the right. By that I mean, if you buy a certain, let's say, frame system, yeah, a certain mainframe or whatever it is, it's a closed system, and you have that square of the system where you can move in, but that's your ballpark, that's your ballpark, and then you have to pay for that, maybe 5, 15, 20 years, and you're stuck to that system. You're stuck to that ballpark. And sometimes they create a little new ballpark next to it, but it's still that ballpark, you know? An ecosystem, that's a ballpark without any limits. You know, you create an ecosystem because you believe you have some things you need to take care of in a very digital and automated way. But sometimes going forward, you say, maybe we should do that also. And an ecosystem needs to talk with other people in your value chain and in your end-to-end system. And I always see it end-to-end. We are we are not even the highest end because you have reinsurance and other things above you. But going through the broker to the end customer, you need to have, as I said, a communication system between the three parts of your triangle, being the broker, the customer, and the insurance company. And you can only do that with an ecosystem. There is no broker that's going to invest in a system that talks with a certain ballpark from one insurer, because you have to invest in 10 ballparks then if you're a broker. You have to create something that's, let's say, very flexible and also reusable. And I think that's what's really attracted me. That's also the reason I was very curious about Piette and Partners, the inside part then. And then, yeah, then I asked the questions, guys, are you ready for the future? And which steps did you already take? And then I saw the API-based system, and that's a very flexible system. I knew that system, but I did not know it was already implemented within Piette and Partners. And that really made me curious. And when I saw that, I was surprised even by how far they took it, because every decision we take within Piette and Partners is having two big conditions. First of all, does it help the broker? Does it provide the service to the broker, also for the customer, of course? And next to that, can we achieve this in real time? Can we create something real time? If those two conditions are not met, we don't do it. So that's just the way we go forward, and we will keep going forward in order to be ready for that future.
So why is real time so important? If you've optimized for efficiency, like what should be done with all that time and that what you saved on? Like how does that impact the business eventually?
Real time is also an efficiency filter, because we are on the podcast named Efficiency Engineers, Frederick. Uh, when you discuss things on how to automate, how to create new tools, how to create new services, if you think with the filter in your head real time, then you know it has to be perfectly automated end to end. You know, from the first step to the last step. If there's a middle step that cannot be automated, it cannot be done in real time. Then your result will never be real time. So real time is a way of thinking about processes also, and automation and digitalization. So it creates a very healthy, I call it, filter in your head when you're judging, should we take this step? Do we need to do that? If it's not met with real-time efficiency, then it's just not efficient enough.
How do you decide what should be automated and what not?
It's really simple. People talk about monkey jobs, huh? Yeah. A monkey is a very intelligent being, you know. So we're not far off from the monkey. So I really like biology. So I have the greatest respect for mammals, and certainly for primates. So we are primates as being human beings, where we are more, let's say, advanced, of course, regarding to the moose. We don't stand on the railway tracks when you see a train coming. We get away from the train, you know. But having said that, people are always thinking about as is systems. What is now? It's going okay, so why change it? You need to think forward, because you get eaten up by today if you don't do that. And I think we should go further, and going further means thinking about real automation. And automation is about having real stupid jobs, really stupid jobs, meaning I know the steps and I have to put in the computer function 9, function 4, function 3, and then function 1. If you don't automate that, then you lose time, energy, work pleasure, and also money, of course. So if you can, if you can pull out every step that is very well known, and there isn't any part of thinking using your healthy brain on things, then you should automate it. And that's what we always do. The only thing that stands between us and automating everything is time and money, Frederick, because we have a lot of things we can automate, we want to automate, but you have to make the right choices, namely, what's the most important step now we can provide to our brokers within, let's say, a few months time.
Leaving space for human creativity to flourish, because that's what people are really good at, actually, and that's what's going to set us apart from machines, from computers in the future. And I think we should be very aware of that, and we should spend resources also on creating that awareness around it. Because frankly, I'm hearing many different things from insurance companies at conferences, but one of the things that should be addressed first is data literacy and technology literacy, and understanding that robots are not necessarily here to take our jobs, but it's about job pleasure. You mentioned it, and I want to zoom in on that. Job pleasure. It's what I heard is that it's one of the things that brought you from an international organization like Allianz to Piette and Partners. When you looked under the hood and you saw technology and the processes that were in place, you were tempted to, you were convinced to join this player, because you see cool tech and you think, hey, this is where I can flourish, because this is where I can do a heck of a job. And then you're a high potential in the insurance industry. But what I'm hearing is that it's increasingly difficult to find talent and find the right people for the job in this industry. So I'm wondering, to what extent is technology going to play a role in that? Yeah, to use a buzzword, in that war for talent. If you have backwards technology and you're using this software field that feels like Windows 95, I think you're gonna have a pretty hard time finding forward-thinking people that really drive your business and that also drive the change that you need to keep up with the market. Is this also your experience? Do you have any ideas on that?
Yeah, quite a lot of ideas. First of all, talking about the war on talent, Frederick, there's a war on talent in every sector we have and see. It's not only in insurance. The first big problem in the insurance business is people talk about making it sexy, and young people will not choose insurance normally as a career because they don't know it. They don't know this, they don't see what is happening there, you know. And also in the customer experience, we're not providing any proof of sexiness, you know. So what? How can we reach out to young people when we don't reach out to them, you know? So that's the first problem. Secondly, it's a very diverse business, and it's really changing now. And when I came to Piet and Partners, I really met a lot of people, new people, of course, and I had a conversation with everybody individually. And the first thing that struck me was they were really warm people. They stood up for their teams, for the company, and that's engagement, and being engaged is really, really important. That's that's the stuff that's really great teams are made of. Being engaged and working for each other, with each other, but also for each other. So a lot of those people were talking to me about my brokers, my brokers, my customer. That's taking responsibility, wanting to do the job very right and very good. On the other hand, I also said to those people, this is great stuff. This is the stuff we can use to go forward. But we also need to be realistic. When we talk about technology and going forward, you need to make changes. So you need to make those changes. But as I always say, when you make changes, you need to tell people why. Yeah? You have to show them the picture also. Why are you doing things? Then you show the how, and then you show the what's. Yeah? Those are the small things, the steps you're going to take. But you need to have everybody on the team on the why. Showing the why means they know we do it for our customers. My broker, we do it for our brokers. Eh? If you do it for the broker, then it's going to be okay because the broker will appreciate that and also the customer. But let me be clear on one thing also. If we take steps on digitizing, automating things, it's not to cut down on people. It's to be more efficient and do more business with the people we have because we have great people, but we want to do more business. And how can you do more business with the same means, let's say, the same people, the same team? Then you have to automate things. So it's a means to do more business, and people will not have to do, let's say, the stupid jobs, the monkey jobs anymore, because they will interact with brokers in a better way, in a more fun way, helping, providing solutions, real solutions for the broker. Because I always say we pick up our telephone. That's what we do. It's very rare in the market that insurers pick up the phone. We do that. But when you pick up the phone, that means two things. You have a broker that calls us in these times. That means a big cry for help because there's all that information on the website. It's fully automated, and then they still make a call. So that means in most cases, a big shout out for help. If we can help and provide a solution to people that moment, then we are a real partner, as we said in our baseline, for the broker. So that is why we automate things. It's to create more possibilities to interact in a real way with the broker, also by phone, having real contact. And I'm going to take the next step here. If you're going to bring in new people, young people, people from other sectors, if you want to take them in, then you will have to show them that plan also, because you need to have a plan for people to join your team. If the team does not have a plan, a lot of people say, nah, I don't buy it, I will not take the risk of going there if there's not a plan that's future proof. So it's also very important to do that and to show that to people. First of all, your own people, of course, the team needs to be in it. But next, if you take in new people and you want to convince new people within the war of talent, then you have to show them a real future-proof plan that's also fun to work with.
It's a human business. It's insurance is very much a human business. I had someone recently tell me insurance industry is the only industry today that still primarily relies on human relationships and networks to run its business and to grow its business. And I think that's very relevant to everything you just mentioned. It's why maybe things are moving a bit slower, but it's also because of its nature, and people want and need this human support when they're vulnerable or when they're crying for help. And this should very much still be the focus of insurance. And technology is just a way to support that, to support those human connections. And honestly, so I'm coming from this sexy background, data, AI, technology, cloud, blah, blah, blah. Now, since a bit over a year, I'm completely swallowed in the insurance industry. And I have to admit, for me, it was also eye-opening to feel how the warmth of the industry, as you mentioned, the way people collaborate together, there's positivity, there's warmth in connecting and helping each other out with the final aim of helping people with their risk, with their liabilities, with their property. And I think that's a very beautiful feature of this industry, and therefore it's probably a little bit underrated for people that are not in it. But I guess that's just my 2 cents and recent experience. We're nearing the end, but I've one more question that I want to ask you. So you're from everything I heard, you're this this positive person. You see things positively. You're convinced and ambitious, wanting to drive change. But is there anything that you find more difficult? Is there what's keeping you awake at night? Where do you maybe sometimes lose faith or lose your energy? Or is it all just a matter of time driving in the right direction and fixing what needs fixing?
Oh, that's a good question to close this off, Frederick. But first of all, I never lose sleep. I'm not a light sleeper. My wife is a light sleeper. She's very jealous of my, let's say, sleep behavior. I don't need a lot of sleep, but when I sleep, I sleep. Even when the kids were little, I slept. Even when there's, let's say, turmoil, I sleep very, very, very well at night. On the other hand, um, I also said I'm very curious, and I also want to learn. And when you combine that, you see solutions in life, and not only in your professional life, but also in your private life. I'm an optimist, and yes, I know optimism is a moral duty, blah, blah, blah. But I'm a real optimist because I think in solutions. When people called me back in the days when I was called the inspector, they called me and I said, Frank, problems, problems. I said, yes, okay. So you're 100% certain we need to have a job here. Thank you for that. So if there's a situation, people say we have a situation, then I always said there is a solution. There are different solutions for a situation. When you're in this slow business, I already mentioned, and you know that your intermediary is not really lying awake at night, like you just said, about going full digital and going even faster, that's the concern I have. But it's also my responsibility to show people that there are means and solutions to go forward in a fast way, in a very digital way, without losing the human component. Because I always talk the broker, I fully believe in the broker. But the broker really needs to prove his or her added value to a customer and be there. And by providing services that will facilitate that added value and the way of showing that to a customer and letting it really feel into their lives, touching their lives by informing them, keeping them awake, showing things, reassuring them in a very positive way, also in a digital way, then I think I should not lose my sleep. I should sleep less to have more time to create more solutions for brokers. So yes, I'm very positive, but I'm also realistic that there are steps that need to be taken in a fast way because at a certain moment there's an acceleration in the demands, and if you don't pick up speed now, you will have a gap that's too wide to pick up on. So that's my message to everybody. Absolutely, there are solutions, and the broker will always have their place for people because people are a bit, let's say, afraid of insurance because they don't know the business. But we are there to back them up in their life for their liabilities and also for their property. And that's what we do, and that's what we will keep on doing in the right and different way also for the future.
For me personally, curiosity is one of the most important values. So I really can relate and testify for that. I think the industry needs more people like you, Frank, who are curious, who are brave and optimistic about the changes that are coming. If I were a broker, I'd trust you with my business. It's been a pleasure to have you here, Frank. Maybe we can do this over one day, and I really look forward to meeting you also in the flesh, in person, very soon. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
It was my pleasure, Frederick. Thank you for having me again.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.